On that Friday evening, I stepped inside the house anticipating just a simple meal and perhaps a film before sleep. But there, in our sleeping quarters, Gloria had both wardrobes flung wide, pulling garments into a pair of big travel bags. She didn't glance my way. "What's happening?" I inquired. Without pausing, she pulled the fastener partway closed on one case. "I'm departing this evening. Don't attempt to halt me." It came out so direct, so polished, as if she'd practiced the line repeatedly. "Departing to where?" I questioned. "I'll crash with a buddy until I sort my situation." Her gaze remained glued to the luggage. "Harvey, I require greater fulfillment from existence than this." "This," I waved at the space around us. "What's the issue with this? This home? This pattern? I can't continue existing this way." She appeared to be reciting from a prepared outline she'd long ago settled on. "Then let's discuss it," I suggested. "We might try therapy." "No," she interrupted sharply. "I'm finished." I remained standing for several moments, allowing the quiet to linger. She obviously anticipated I'd dive in, beg her, vow improvements. But instead, I simply responded, "Fine." That caused her to stop. She halted in the middle of folding and stared at me properly. "Fine. Is that everything you have to offer? You've decided, Gloria. What should I battle for if you've already concluded it's finished?" Her mouth tightened into a narrow stripe. "All right. Don't claim I didn't offer you an opportunity." She yanked the closures tight, seized the cases, and pushed by me without further speech. I observed her vehicle pull away from the drive. Once the rear lights vanished, I grabbed my mobile. "David, it's Harvey," I stated as my attorney picked up. "Gloria has just departed. What steps must I take to safeguard myself?" In moments, I possessed a list of tasks. Revoke her entry to my accounts, alter the entry points, and document all items she abandoned. By late night, her accounts were deactivated. By the following dawn, a key specialist was en route. If she believed I'd linger idly for her to determine if I merited retention, she was wrong. Honestly, I wasn't caught off guard. Over the past 8 months, I'd seen her transform into an unfamiliar person. When we initially wed, she held a full schedule at an advertising company, returned giggling over workplace chatter, and genuinely relished our relaxed weekends. Then, abruptly, she resigned, claiming a desire for reduced pressure, and accepted a half-time position at a shop. The remainder of her hours evaporated into social media platforms and constant messaging with her unattached pals. Initially, it was minor remarks on how thrilling their existences seemed. Then arrived contrasts: superior residences, finer trips, greater independence. Before long, she was absent late frequently, starting with after-work drinks, then female outings that concluded post-dawn. I'd awaken to a vacant mattress and a message reading, "Don't stay awake." One evening, I noticed a name illuminate her device: Victor. I recalled him from earlier years, a colleague she'd been somewhat overly familiar with. When I probed, she dismissed it with an eye roll. "It's merely Victor. We're reconnecting, you're overreacting." Overreacting because my spouse is chatting deep into the night with a former associate? I questioned. "You're domineering, Harvey. It's unappealing." That concluded the exchange. Following that, I observed more closely. The chuckles she formerly reserved for me appeared in her communications to others. Her device was perpetually screen downward. By the point I discovered her preparing to leave, I already grasped the implication. She'd been organizing her departure for months, possibly cultivating interest in another individual meanwhile. What she was unaware of was that I wouldn't pursue someone who'd already exited. By Saturday dawn, flaws in her strategy began emerging. Around 9, my phone displayed her name. I allowed it to chime twice prior to responding. "What have you done?" she barked. "Pleasant morning to you as well. My accounts aren't functioning. I attempted to fuel up and it was rejected, right there publicly. Those accounts are under my title. You're only a permitted user. I eliminated you. You can't simply block me from funds. In fact, I can. You declared you were relocating. You instructed me not to interfere. I'm honoring that." A hesitation. Then her tone mellowed slightly. "Harvey, I never mentioned desiring a separation. I simply required distance. Distance doesn't entail stuffing bags and departing. That's termed relocating. This is absurd. I retain privileges as your spouse. To what? You departed voluntarily, she disconnected. 10 minutes on, Sophie, one of her nearest companions, rang. Harvey, we must discuss Gloria. Must we? She's pained. She believes you're penalizing her. She stated she was finished. I'm accepting her statement. She merely needs a period to reflect. You ought to encounter her. Converse matters properly. Like you advised her, explore what else exists. I cut in. Quiet. Sophie, I know you've been influencing her for months. You considered she was squandering her existence in marriage. Well, now she's liberated. You achieved your goal. That's unjust. What's unjust is persuading my spouse to depart, then feigning surprise when I don't pursue. I ended the call. By midday, it dawned on me. Gloria had presumed I'd be frantic, rushing to regain her favor. But I was composed, systematic, and she evidently couldn't manage it. The subsequent Wednesday evening, the entry bell sounded thrice, trailed by forceful raps. I peered through the pane. Gloria was on the veranda, locks tied rearward, donning the identical coat from her exit. Harvey, unlock. We must converse, she shouted. I remained stationary. She extracted her bag, attempted her former key. Turn, it failed to match. She flung her arms upward and hammered more intensely. That's when my adjacent resident, John, strolled across. All right here? He inquired, looking between her and me. John, instruct him to unbolt the entrance, she uttered swiftly. He barred me from my own residence. John scowled. Didn't you inform me Saturday that you were at last unbound and commencing a fresh phase? Her cheeks reddened. I was releasing frustration. That's not my intent. That's precisely what you expressed, John countered. You even quipped about locating someone more stimulating. She darted a glare at me as if this were my responsibility. That was misinterpreted. I emerged outdoors, but toward John, not her. Appreciate the concern, pal. We're okay. She positioned to obstruct me. Harvey, kindly, I erred. Let's merely converse. Nothing remains to discuss. You directed me not to halt you. You obtained your desire. Her tone wavered faintly. I didn't anticipate this outcome. Then perhaps you ought to have considered that prior to departing. John fidgeted uncomfortably. I'll permit you pair to resolve this. I returned indoors and secured the entrance. She lingered another 5 minutes before departing. By the weekend, she'd altered approaches, approaching my relatives. Saturday morning, my mother phoned. Harvey, I just concluded speaking with Gloria. I exhaled. What did she seek? She claimed you barred her entry, deactivated her accounts, and declined to meet her. Is that accurate? Yes, Mom, she relocated. That was her choice, I replied. My mother's tone remained steady on the line. Then she must cope with it. I informed her I'm not intervening. An hour on, my sister Elaine messaged me. Gloria just contacted me sobbing. I instructed her to cease. I nearly chuckled. Gloria wasn't accustomed to such swift rejection. That afternoon, a rap at my entrance. Upon opening, Gloria was present alongside her elder sibling, Martin, who already appeared restless. Harvey, he began, we simply wish to converse. Gloria recognizes she exaggerated. I rested against the frame. Exaggerated. She gathered her belongings and informed half the community she was content without me. That's not exaggerating, Martin, that's choosing. Gloria shuffled uneasily. Victor wasn't as I imagined. I now see I erred. I inclined my head gradually. So you departed assuming another would be superior. And when that failed, you returned. That's unjust, she responded promptly. What's unjust? I countered. Is you exiting without attempting to mend our bond, then anticipating me to simply restart all when convenient for you. Martin raised his palms in a conciliatory motion. Listen, I'm solely here to assist her communicate. She's my sibling. I comprehend and I value that, I stated. But the response remains no. Gloria's gaze stiffened. So that's final? 3 years vanished. No, Gloria, I stated. You terminated it the evening you exited. I'm merely respecting your selection. Martin exhaled and they both pivoted to depart. She didn't glance rearward. A month elapsed without contact from her, and I presumed she had acknowledged the conclusion. Then, one Tuesday, my attorney David rang. Gloria's legal representative had contacted with a suggestion, couples therapy rather than advancing the separation. David clarified the concept originated from her folks, who desired her to either reunite with me or manage independently. From the particulars he provided, it was evident this wasn't regarding affection or remorse. She'd been shifting among friends' sofas and her parents' abode, handling irregular hours at the shop, and finding it hard to sustain the way of life she'd previously relished. The residence was never in discussions. It belonged to me pre-marriage, and the title was exclusively mine. She departed with solely what fit in her cases. All else remained unchanged. It was apparent she was grasping for the security she had willingly forsaken, a dwelling she no longer claimed. David recommended I remain resolute unless I possessed a compelling motive to alter. I lacked one. Nothing remained to reevaluate. Later that week, I got a lone message from her. "We could repair this if you just speak with me." I didn't answer. David submitted the concluding documents. I didn't experience joy or spite, just assurance. When you've shared years with someone, it's simple to dwell on positive moments and ponder if you could reclaim them by reversing sufficiently. But I couldn't erase her declaring she was finished. I couldn't erase the expression in her eyes when she directed me not to interfere. That wasn't a momentary lapse, it was an intentional selection. And selections carry results. 3 months on, the separation was complete. No theatrical court display, no 11th-hour appeals, just endorsements, a seal, and it concluded. Elaine subsequently informed me Gloria had relocated back with her parents in a modest community 2 hours distant. She'd resigned from the shop due to fuel costs and accepted a full schedule at a customer service hub. After the documents were endorsed, she dispatched me one final message. "I hope someday you realize I didn't intend to wound you." I didn't reply. Nothing remained to express. The home sensed altered now. More silent, more stable. I no longer arrived wondering if I'd encounter another dispute or learn of another extended evening away. A month on, I encountered Rachel, a 32-year-old caregiver who possesses her apartment and covers her expenses. We began with beverages, then supper, and I discovered how invigorating it was to share with someone who didn't view a partnership as a power play. When I referenced Gloria concisely, Rachel shook her head. "Seems she desired you as a fallback while she tested alternatives." "That's precisely it," I replied. I reflected on the evening Gloria departed, hovering over open cases, issuing her farewell as if scripted. She'd anticipated I'd frenzy and pledge anything to retain her, but I'd already devoted months upholding the union through faithfulness and consistency. She surrendered in one night. Finest insight I ever gained. When someone declares they're departing, trust them. Don't pursue. Don't implore. Permit them to proceed. Because if they genuinely prized what they possessed, they wouldn't be exiting initially.